Hello, this is Michael Ensor, and this is Advertising Report Card. Today we are doing a report card on intensive therapy retreats. Quick overview of how this will work is we did an initial review of the marketing strategies when it comes to the website, when it comes to SEO, PPC, and social. Then we record a video of what we found and instructions on how to improve things. After that, we can schedule a Q&A to go through all the items, and then in addition to that, provide guidance on what you can do for next steps. You have assets linked here, and there's more assets that we're going to be linking in your folder over here. And these are all the reports that we've compiled into this report so that you can go back and forth into them if you want to look at them individually. So a quick overview of the goals is we're going to touch base on the website, SEO, Google Ads, and social ads. With this report specifically, there is no history that we tracked on Google Ads, so we're going to be pulling our own data, and then we're going to be looking at one of the only other competitors on social, as well as what we find on the website and SEO. So to jump right in to the overview, on the website itself, there are a few issues that we would recommend getting fixed. And I think that if you did do these things, they would help you with your SEO. They're not exactly user experience issues. User experience being things that would keep you from converting. These are issues that are more on the technical side that could potentially hold you back when it comes to SEO ranking. So as an example, a few things that are on the site. This is the major error that's been reported, and it's a redirect chain loop. Basically, what this happens is over time, as SEO is being done on a website, there might be a page that's no longer relevant that's redirected to a more relevant page. In this instance, there are a few pages that over time seem to have been redirected towards each other. As you can see here, HTTP to HTTPS. This is completely normal because the site was updated with HTTPS. So almost every website has gone through this change. But now that this HTTPS link is indexed, it was also redirected to a modified page for pricing. And now the final page with the proper URL is just the pricing and fact page. So realistically, what you would want to see is these three pages having their own individual 301 redirect link to this page. Instead, this page is redirecting to this page, that's redirecting to this page, that's redirecting to this page. This is an easy issue to fix. It's just about uncovering it and discovering it. I'm going to actually put this in the report just as a quick example to follow by. But the idea is that as you go through and fix these issues, one thing you can do is just make some of these modifications on the site. Again, this is something that's going to help with SEO. This one in itself isn't going to be like a thing that's going to hold you back significantly. It's more or less just polishing the individual areas so that each page is linking individually to each page that it should link to. Each page above directly to the end page versus creating a redirect chain. Next, some of the other issues are, again, considered in all terms of things polish, because what we're trying to do is find things that we can improve. So the main thing with the warnings that were being triggered is there's a lot of pages that have low HTML to text ratio, meaning that the page itself could just use more text in general. So if you were to click into this and take a look, some of this stuff is blog related, some of it's not. But you can see the ratios in general. It may have something to do with the way that the blog page is structured. So let's go back and open that page. Sorry, I clicked the wrong link. So if we take a look at the page itself and the way that it's structured, the content is good. It might be the way that the headlines are structured. Maybe there's extra CSS in the styling. But this is almost all text. So this is actually perfect what you would want to see from a blog post. Maybe even add more images, which would be more HTML versus text. But that's what it's being flagged for, and it has probably something to do with the way that the page is built. Also, I would highly recommend getting rid of the leave a comment section on any of these pages. There's actually a plugin that you can add to WordPress that gets rid of plugins, because this area is the #1 exploit for JavaScript hacks. So at any point in time, if a bot is crawling your site and you want to hack a website, what they'll do is try to exploit this. Now, there's already security on the website that we found, including the HTTPS, so I wouldn't worry about this too much, but we would recommend removing this section. I'm going to actually add that quick note verbally. Remove the comments section on the website. If you want people to comment, you should redirect them to social media where they can leave comments on your posts that will help lift your social profiles. This isn't exactly beneficial to have on a website in recent times because of its risk factor to getting exploited with JavaScript hacks. All right. So, oops, I'll get rid of that. So, other than that, let's look at a couple of the other issues. Outgoing internal links. This is not a bad thing for your site because you're linking out to a lot of other resources. If you were just a small local business and your goal is to only get links coming into your business, that's one thing. But if you're giving proper resources and showing your customers or people interested in your service items that they could then pursue or things that you recommend, this is totally normal in the medical space for outbound links. You can keep a look at what these are by going through the site because we have this in a report that you can take a look at. But the main thing is just wanting to confirm the point of why you have those going outbound. I did want to mention too that outbound internal links can also be good for SEO if they are relevant to the content. So this is a system that crawls things that could bring issues to the table, but in general, this isn't necessarily something that's harmful for what's in your industry. The next thing is too much text in a title tag. This is because the blog post in itself, and it also includes the name of the website in the blog post with the title tag. Title tags, the character limit recommendations generally change. At one point in time, it was 72. They brought it down to 60. Then it was 48 characters, and now it swings between 48 and 42 and 60. It's at the end of the day, this is something that you can focus on, not necessarily because it's bad, but because if you're looking to introduce keywords into the title, then you can modify these and shorten them. But I mean, think about it this way. 10 reasons to consider treatment at a trauma recovery center. That's a perfect headline. So again, the tool itself is gathering a character count of titles. I don't necessarily think that this is something that you should extremely have to worry about. But again, if you find things in there that you could shorten or modify, they would benefit the SEO that those blog posts are bringing. Another quick aspect of the title tags is to just simply remove the name of the website. The website name itself is indexed very well. You're also ranking number 1 for a lot of core keywords. So I wouldn't worry so much about having to introduce that into each blog post name and removing that and then just dropping that index back into Google Search Console and just asking for a recrawl should eliminate that problem. Another thing too that's really easy to eliminate is there's 17 pages that don't have meta descriptions. What that means is that there's a title description on the page, but they don't have meta descriptions. One second. So as you can see here, the author of these pieces of content, they are missing meta descriptions. All you need to do is add a meta description for the author, and then those issues will be eliminated as well. This is also something that you wouldn't necessarily have to worry about, and if you wanted to have these pages redirect, that's one thing you could consider as well. These are created over time as more blog posts are written by the author, so it's no different than a category page or a tag page, and these shouldn't be prioritized in your sitemap. We have a couple external links that are broken. For instance, Intensive Therapy Retreats in Beacon, New York is issuing a 404. If we pop that open, it's working now. So this caught the issue. Maybe when it was doing the scan, something was broken. But this isn't actually an issue. You'll see this in your report, but I wanted to show you this in general. It looks like maybe at one point in time, this other link that the page linked out to was broken. So it looks like whoever had this website, One More Byte CC, didn't pay their Wix subscription. CDC has removed their quarantine page from cdc.gov. That's interesting. And they didn't redirect it to a more helpful page, so I guess we're not quarantining anymore. Everlastingnutrition.business.site's a Google site, so I'm not surprised that this is broken. So these are all things that you can get rid of on your site because you control the link out to those pages. And since these pages are indexed, if you just redirect those links to more helpful pages on maybe your site or a partner site, then you should be all good to go. So that's the majority of the report on the website overview. A few quick things I wanted to add as well is that you're built on WordPress, so these changes are going to be easy for you to implement. You're tracking properly through Google Tag Manager, which is best for implementing more marketing. And you're using core tools that are beneficial. If you have any questions about wanting us to dive into the tech behind what you're running or recommend anything in addition, we're happy to do so. But as of right now, the site health looks good. Only thing I'd recommend for this site, which we're going to discuss here shortly, is the Facebook remarketing pixel and then the Google remarketing script. Two of those both things are things that are not active on the site anyways. So it's not like those are necessary now, but as you roll out marketing, those are two things you're going to want to implement. Next is page. So on page speed, your page speed's looking good. To be 87 and flagged as warning or caution, as in yellow, is I don't want to say overkill. It's something worth looking at because the issue that you're having is it's the first section that's having the issue. But there's a few things that you can change about that. It might just be image sizes. That is the one thing. And then it's just the first content full paint is basically the first aspect of the website to load. And then the largest count full paint are both related. So it looks like to be like this section. So if we were to look at this image as an example in the background, let's take a look and see if we can pull it up. This is a really heavy image. We can take a look and see how big it is and see if there's a tiny G and just get a measure on how big the image is. Oh, I gotta load it real quick, 1 second. See, it's not super large. It's honestly for that picture. Look at that. Like even with a tiny PNG, we only reduced it by 22. If you loaded this image in at a smaller amount, like so the dimension wasn't so large, it would be more beneficial. But I mean, at the end of the day, you know, it's just something to consider. But at the okay, so the split test on the hero image might be changing. So next thing I wanted to jump into is the SEO audit. Overall, SEO is looking super strong. There's a lot of information here about the report that we pull. I would dive deeper into this if we found more errors. One thing I did want to highlight in the position tracking is you might see some minor things lost and then other things new. Main thing to consider is that just in the top 3 position alone, you have 31 keywords at the top 3 results of Google that are core keywords you're trying to rank for, which is honestly very impressive. Not a lot of websites get to that point. And you have a pretty good grouping of very strong competitive keywords at the top 10 as well. So when you have this type of loss, this is called churn, where things go back and forth with what is lost and what is gained. And you're talking positions like 1 position change and then 1 position change back. So you're going to get some churn in there, and you can see that. But if you look at the overall results, the churn is going back and forth between position 1 and 2, the most competitive positions that you can be in on Google search results. And you're literally number 1 for Montreal therapy retreats, and you're going back and forth between 1 and 2, which is very good. And then also intensive trauma therapy retreat in Hartford between 1 and 2. And then there's plenty of ranks that are just number 1 flat out, and you're not churning those at all. So it's normal for a site to go back and forth and churn. You're going to have keywords that go up and keywords that go down. The main thing is you want the overall trend to be increasing. And if you're looking for a signal on that, if you look at the overall gain, organic keywords just in this measurement's up 5%, and you're at 890 keywords that you're ranking for. And the content itself is so good that your referring domains are going up. So a lot of people are linking to your website as well for general information. So overall, looking pretty strong on the SEO front. The main things that were going to help your SEO are actually found in the site audit when it comes to these other items, just polishing some of these other things that you could work on. Otherwise, I would keep on doing what you're doing with the SEO strategy, and if anything, do more of it if you're trying to rank for more keywords and be position number one, because what's working is doing very well. And then there's also some information on backlinks, but the main thing that is working is the core content that's going on the site and the work that's being done on and off the site. And anything that's flagged as bad backlinks, if you actually look at the domain, Arizona Depression Helpline should not be flagged. It's just part of the system automatically reporting that. Those are good domains, keyword-wise, to be linking from. So the next thing I wanted to dive into is the Google Ads audit, and then I want to skip past this and end with the Google Ads audit because there is no historical Google Ads data that we were able to pull from our report. But we do have data for keywords that we want to dive into so we can get an estimation of how much the advertising would cost. So in the Facebook audit, this is basically us pulling ads from social media in general. And what you'll see is that a lot of the people that were submitted as competitors don't even run ads at all. So that's the one thing that you can consider. The one that is running ads is the Refuge, a healing place. So if you were to click on that link, it'll bring you directly to where they are showing the ads. So that way you can go in there and look. And it's just one video with two different headlines. And this one, most recent one, was launched in February 2023. This other one was launched in March. So these are fairly recent. They're heavily relying on this video. And it's fairly generic. It almost kind of feels like a pharmaceutical ad where there's not really any focus. There's no text. There's actually audio being spoken, and it's not being turned into captions. They're not really highlighting any aspects of what the service does. So with that being said, this is more like storytelling than it is advertising. And storytelling in advertising usually ends with you should do this, and this is what you get out of this, and it's really not doing any of that. So beating these competitors out on social is going to be automatic because some of them aren't running ads, but when it comes to the Refuge, you could definitely do better than what they are running currently. So with that being said, the main thing on PPC, so we're going to go back up to this section here. We weren't able to track anything historically on this, but what we did want to talk about was what we pulled up on everything that we found online and try to get an average top of page bid so that we can have a cost per click for what the what you can expect, and then from that we can reverse engineer what the expectation should be when you're trying to drive a lead for these services. So what we have here is a keyword report pulled directly from Google, showing us a few different types of keywords that we're looking at as far as the general keywords for the industry, internal family systems. We have a lower cost per click because it's more of a general term with a lot of different fixes to it. It's also very competitive in the sense that it has a lot of monthly searches. So even though you see low competition, it's only because there's so many searches that there's only so many people bidding on it. So there's like dilution on the competition side when it comes to who's paying for ads. When it comes to the more competitive items, you can see there's a small indicator like medium and high. I would look more at the cost per click when I'm trying to get an idea of what we're bidding on. And this is going to be top of page, high range, meaning that if you want to actually be in the top 3 positions consistently, this would be a good idea of what you want to look at. And this is for mental health retreats for depression, internal family system therapist near me, and then other types of items like centers as well. So they all vary greatly in price, and it has a lot to do with what we're bidding on. You really don't know what's going to convert unless you are running the ads, because what's different from this in SEO is how people search and how people find the website. But in general, we can also use the keywords that we pull from analytics to target keywords that are going to be productive. But at the end of the day, what we're looking to find here is an average cost per click to start. So by highlighting all of these, if we go to average, we're around $9. I'm a worst case scenario type of person to start these kind of conversations, so we're going to find the highest cost per click. Intensive therapy for depression near me, best treatment centers for complex PTSD. Around these, you're looking like you're in the 20 range. If you can solve these problems, then you're going to net that traffic and that conversion, right? If we're looking at generalized stuff, so you're looking between 10 and 20. What we're going to do is pull up this sheet here. This is a revenue calculator that we use for helping people and coach them through what they can expect when it comes to putting money into advertising, because at the end of the day, you don't want to just hope it works. You want to have some type of guideline, some type of baseline as to what you want to see from an ROI perspective. So what we'll start here is just a monthly spend of $2,500 and monthly management, which is our typical minimum or regular rate of $2,500. And then you can see from the daily ad spend, 83 per day with an annual spend of $3,000. Same with management. So this is going to be your overall annual expense. So that's what we want to establish first, is what the expense is, so we can start to try to help calculate profit. Now, with the average cost per click, what we had looked at when we first did that initial scan was around 9. Let's go ahead and just start off with worst case scenario at 20. With an average conversion rate on the page of 10%, which is another number that you can change, you're looking at getting a total of 12 leads. Now, out of those people who fill out that form or place that call, how many people do you end up giving a quote to? Well, if you already have dollar amounts on the page, effectively they've already been given a quote. So then you're looking at directly to sales calls to close. So for the sake of doing, again, worst case scenario, let's just say that everyone who fills out the form or calls, only 50% you get in touch with on the phone, right? And then sales calls to close, let's say only 50% of them actually turn in the customers. If your average value per customer is $5,000 and your profit margin is 25%, you can see that you're actually negative net profit. That's why this is very important for us to look at out of the gate, is to make sure that whatever the projections are, you're able to make an impact on. So the reason why we have this table is to go through and make sure that this is ironed out for everybody we work with, because even if we work with 2 retreat centers sitting right next to each other, which we aren't working with any right now, the main thing that you want to see is what the profit margin is, the average sale is, and then what else we could do to optimize your strategy. So first thing with profit margin, 25% is usually the operating profit margin of a doctor's office or someone else who has a lot of overhead, a lot of staff. They're paying a lot of rent. They're having a lot of equipment cost. They're having a lot of cost of goods being sold. In this instance, it's therapy. So the main overhead is the cost of the therapist. So with that being said, on the top of this, if we change the profit margin to 75% from 25%, you're already net profit positive at 57%. So that's a huge thing to consider, is what you would want to calculate as a profit margin. If we moved it to 50%, you're 36% net profit positive in a worst case scenario. That's what I want to emphasize, is this is all meant to be worst case scenario. So now, let's move this up to 7,500. One of the better, higher paying customers that comes in, which, by the way, if we're looking to focus our efforts on the people who are the most competitive and the most niche, if we just looked at this selection, your average is actually under 20, it's 18. So let's go ahead and move that to that exact number, 1840. You've already moved your net profit up again 4%, which is a small amount, but it depends on how you look at it, because if you start to add more budget, that 4% net profit, if you're spending a lot more than $2,500 a month, is very important. So next, when it comes to sales calls to close and lead calls, this is something that you can always work on your op. It's something that you want to keep a finger on the pulse of, because a nominal change here, let's just say you get more people on the phone because the follow-up is optimized more and you're sending more information, you're getting people more interested without even getting them on the phone at first so that they're more likely to book that call. Let's change that to 60. Your net profit's now 67%. So just a 10% change, meaning that you get one more person or two more people per month on the phone, can have that big of an impact. Almost a 10% change in your net profitability when investing in these advertising campaigns. Next, let's actually do a better case scenario on the cost per click without it being the most competitive keywords in your entire industry and move this to 10. You've almost increased your net profit 20%. It's actually 18% that increased. And from there, let's say we do an intro program with the management fee and bring it down to $1,500. Your net profits increase 5%. The only thing that's going to change this negatively at this point now is your monthly ad spend, and you'll see why here in a second. If we go down to $1,500, your net profit goes down 4%. And the reason being is that you need to fuel this fire to generate clicks, to generate leads, to go through these percentages to then create your net profit amount. So that's why as you add more ad budget, let's change this to $5,000 as an example. You can see that it's 78% net profit in this box. Keep an eye on this. Not only are you generating a ton more revenue, but the overall percentage of the net profit is going up as well, which is extremely important to consider, is that we are more built on the statistical side of the business. We're not just looking to tell people to spend more money to make more money. We want to know exactly what the projection is. So that is what you're looking at if you add more budget to the situation. Even if we're getting paid our typical retainer, bringing down the retainers stays static at $2,500. So as you increase your monthly ad spend, your net profit just continues to go up, even if we changed no other variables. And again, if your profit margin, if you only have 25% overhead, including renting a room to have the retreat or renting a place and then having them pay more or less, or plane tickets, it really just depends on what you want to put in here as the overhead. You can play with this number as well. This tool you'll have in your folder with all of your other assets. So feel free to play with it. The green rows are the ones that you're supposed to change. If you want to change the click to conversion, you can as well. Let's say that we're driving a lot of generic traffic and the click to conversion is 5% versus 10 or even 3%. You're still net profit positive at 46%, but these are always things that we can work on to improve. 10% is what we are looking for on average when it comes to lead generation through a website. There's things that can inhibit that. There's things that can help that, but that's all a part of managing an advertising program. That's it for now. Looking forward to the Q&A. This is Michael Enso with the Advertising Report Card. Hope you have a good day.